Nintendo will raise the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 in the US, Canada, and Europe in September, and even sooner in Japan. Welcome to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to report another fucking price increase on a Saturday, no less.
Yeah, gosh, we're taking a break from our busy weekends of gaming and complaining on the internet to complain on the internet, but in front of a camera this time. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of upsides here. I can't really think of any. The only one that I can, the sliverest of silver linings is that this is making PC gaming look a lot cheaper by the day. I mean, for a $50 or $100 more, you can get a Steam Deck or an ROG Xbox Ally. And that's a pretty outrageous deal compared to something like the Switch 2.
Yeah, the Steam Deck, I mean, I guess you'd probably have a secondhand market or something because they're basically sold out at this point. But the ROG Ally is a fantastic deal. Either way, Nintendo made the announcement of this price increase as part of their fiscal 2026 results. They did great, by the way, thanks to all of us. And they're about to do even better.
Yep. Thanks to, quote, this phrase, various changes in market conditions that are also, quote, expected to extend over the medium to long term. Nintendo will be raising the price of the Switch 2 by $50 to $500 in the United States, by 50 Canadian dollars to $680 in Canada, and by 30 euros to 500 euro in Europe.
So weirdly, the price is going up more and faster in Japan, where the Switch 2 will jump 10,000 yen to 59,980 yen on May 25th. That's a huge increase.
It is. Yeah, they didn't really explicitly say this, but I think this was an introductory window meant to treat their home customers a little nicer. But I think those gloves are coming off because they got investors to answer to now.
Nintendo took the occasion to raise prices on a weird mix of other things, including the original Nintendo Switch. Oh, great, thanks. And Nintendo Online rates in Japan only for some reason.
Yeah, this is the weirdest one. They also removed any dedicated MSRP from their Hanafuda card sets, which they also still apparently make. It'll just be market price from here on out for those.
Weird. The company didn't comment further on the price raise, apart from a pretty boilerplate apology in the notes that reads, quote, I love these. These are my favorite. We sincerely apologize for the impact these price revisions may have on our customers and other stakeholders, and we deeply appreciate your understanding of wanting to take your money. The last part's not in the quote.
We need that money. Thank you for understanding. And yeah, now it's time to say the line. Here we go. Nintendo's sales almost doubled in the last fiscal, hitting 2.3 trillion yen or $14.6 billion. And that generated gross profits that themselves grew 28% year over year to 909 billion yen or $5.7 billion.
So the profits are very high and they're raising the price. That means even more profits. They're geniuses. Nintendo's software lineup did very well during this period. Mario Kart World moved 14.7 million units. And given that Nintendo sold 19.86 million Switch 2s, that's a 74% attach rate for Mario Kart World. That is why the game is $80.
Yeah. Basically, well, I know that this ratio isn't going to hold, but Nintendo certainly has a legacy of launch games with extremely strong attach rates. So that's going to be the one thing they make sure that's the higher MSRP over the run of the entire life cycle of this hardware, which is going to be another 10 years if we're looking at the way the Switch 1 went.
Yep, that's right. Donkey Kong Bonanza sold 4.52 million units. Tomodachi Life Living the Dream has sold over 3.8 million units in the 2 weeks since launch. That's safe to say that game has gone viral. Everybody's really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's surprising. Tomodachi Life is a weird one. I wouldn't expect it to hit 4 million. There are other games that would dream of hitting that many sales. Speaking of raking in just mysterious amounts of money, Pokemon continues to be a money factory. Pokemon Legends ZA sold 8.85 million units. Yowza. This is probably the most galling of all. Hey, if you like Pokemon, great, but Jesus Christ. Nintendo's re-release of the 22-year-old Game Boy Advance games, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, sold 4 million units at $20 for the first 6 weeks of release. They didn't even have to try that hard with that one. Sheesh.
No, I mean, a lot of people are mad that they didn't put them in subscription, the Nintendo Online subscription, like they did with other games.
It's right there, but there you go. Sheesh. What is that? 80 million bucks? Just like that?
That's why they sold them for $20 a pop. The Switch 2 exclusive Pokemon Pokopia also sold over 4 million units in its first 5 weeks. So safe to say, Pokemon is the $1 trillion franchise, the biggest franchise in the world, so, and it continues to be.
Yeah, but this is, I think what you see here is pretty tactical use of brand. You know, of course, Nintendo's going to launch with a Mario Kart, and of course it sold like crazy, but then the big follow-up, and this actually resulted in some momentum in hardware, was Pokopia, but they put their brand on a different kind of game, something that could be played for a really long time. I guess most Pokemon games can. But still, for new hardware and exclusive software for that new hardware, $4 million is really good.
That is really, really good. Here's some other fun facts that we pulled out of the financial results. Nintendo's profit margin ratio actually went down in the last fiscal quarter, since the profit margin on the Switch 2 is lower than the original Switch. That's really interesting.
Yeah, right? And that's before all the price adjustments. I'm sure that the original Switch will still have probably a higher profit margin, but there you go. Selling a bunch of new hardware doesn't necessarily mean you're swimming in a lot of money, even though they are. Yeah, here's another fun part. Speaking about the new hardware generation, Nintendo accidentally beat their sales expectations for the Switch 2 because they've never really been in this particular situation before, where they're making a hardware successor to something that's already on the market.
They said, quote, "For our hardware systems to date, sales units have generally tended to be higher in the second fiscal year after launch than in the launch year. Nintendo Switch 2, however, launched at a time when many consumers were continuing to enjoy Nintendo Switch. Against this backdrop and other factors, launch year sales reached a level we had not experienced with any of our previous hardware systems."
Nintendo's a weird company. They get caught by surprise a lot, but they tend to learn pretty quickly as long as they've been in that situation one time before. So it's interesting to hear them say, well, we've never done this before, so it was new, but maybe the next time they'll do it, they'll be better at it. Yeah. And speaking of, here's an interesting thing too, given that Nintendo sold 20 million Switch 2s. The number of annual users of Switch systems has stayed about the same, around 130 million, for the past 3 years. So if you draw just a total equivalence of that math, everyone who bought a Switch 2 already had a Switch 1 or was already using it. Basically, the Switch 2 hardware didn't seem to result in a spike of annual users specifically for this last fiscal year.
That's really interesting. Investors reacted to the earning of loads of money and the promise of loads more by... they sold the stock. It's usually like it's buy the rumor, sell the news is generally the way this works. So Nintendo's stock dropped 11% over the course of the day. And that's because people have been sort of leading up to these sales expectations, and they've been buying and buying and buying. Probably the rumors were that the sales expectations were going to be high. And so it goes, they sold the news.
Yeah, I would think that the promise of a pending price increase would have caused people to just, maybe I'll hold on to it because they're just going to make more money next year. But no, didn't work, or at least maybe it doesn't work that way. I have no idea. But I expect, part of me wonders if they are setting the prices where they thought they probably should have launched at. And if they had launched at these prices, they'd be swimming in more money now. You never know. You never know. And to some degree, I think they might have been a little more cautious coming into this because, according to that one footnote, they did say this is the first time we've successfully done something like this, as opposed to trying to convince people to buy this entirely new weird thing that doesn't play any of the games you used to have. So in terms of that, and only that, in business operations, they pulled it off. They sold a ton of Switch 2s. They seem to be doing pretty well. They seem to have a steady cadence of games that I want to say probably pretty intelligently are leaning into their older customers. The Star Fox remake is kind of a long shot from deep into the millennial past of Nintendo. And they seem to be ringing that bell pretty effectively, and it seems to be working. Yeah,
there's a couple of things here that I want to make sure we make clear, because I've seen a number of comments about when we talk about these things. Number one, the reason they're raising the price is because of tariffs. Donald Trump's tariffs. Just so you're aware, everyone's aware. Somebody was like, you're avoiding talking about the tariffs. No, we're not. We talk about them almost all the time. And the reason all these prices are going up is because of these tariffs that Donald Trump has put on. And there's, some of them are not gone, some of them are not, blah, blah, blah. It's just it's for the courts to decide at this point, because the courts have decided mainly they're illegal. Regardless, they caused a lot of problems in supply side for a lot of these electronics corporations that are overseas, Nintendo being one of them. And so what's interesting about this to think about is, did people buy the Switch 2 early to get ahead of the price increase? I don't know that everybody is that on top of tariffs and price increases and all that other stuff. I know I did. I got ahead of it. I did the same with the PS5. I bought the PS5 early, the Pro, because I knew they were going to raise the price, and they did. And it was the same with this. So I don't know if they're going to sell less Switch 2s now that they've raised the price and everybody sort of got in when they wanted to? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think games will probably determine that. And yeah, you're right, Bruce. It's tariffs. It's AI data center constructions making parts harder to source. And now who even knows with the conflict in Iran how that's going to influence any of the supply chains, how it's going to influence the gas that powers the tankers that get the switches from their place of manufacture to the market and powers the trucks that get them into the streets and into the stores. So yes, a lot of disruptions. The quote about these issues extending in the medium to long term is kind of the chilling one. So it seems like in their estimation, they've decided that none of these factors are going to disappear overnight, which is unfortunate, which means gaming is going to get more expensive, especially if every company's doing it. And yeah, and in terms of the price or in terms of sales volume, yeah, I'm sure there will be a spike of sales because yeah, we saw that in PlayStation. They rocketed up right before their price increase. And to Nintendo's credit, I guess, or PlayStation's credit, at least they give you some warning. So if you are on the fence and you're kind of gun shy about making that purchase, you can do so and at least not feel like you got ripped off. But yes, it makes me wonder what they're going to do around that time period. Let's see here. Yeah, the price is going up in the US, in Canada, and in Europe in September. So they pretty clearly want it to be at the higher price before the holiday season. And I'm going to guess they think they've got some good software lined up for this holiday season that will make people not necessarily remember that it used to be cheaper. What that's going to be, I'm not sure. Nintendo they've settled into a really tight marketing cycle where they only really promote the thing that's a month and a half out. And apart from that, you have no idea what their lineup is. Unless you trust various rumors and stuff like that, and that's always fun. So we'll see. Star Fox is their summer game, and pretty clearly they want that to be out for the movie, so that when all the millennial parents drag their kids to go see Star Fox, they can come home and play the game that they remember from their childhood as well. It's pretty smart. And they're getting more Disney every day, aren't they?
They really are. I mean, they might be the original Disney. Nintendo's been around for a really long time, and they really have been nailing the sale of brand because of Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon really they dwarf Disney in terms of revenue, so they might be bigger and better than Disney. And also, this is my preaching, my soapbox segment. Like I say often, because I know we're gonna get a lot of comments about how the price raise sucks, and because it does suck, it's the worst. And obviously we talk about this all the time. It sucks. It's generally responsible only for one man. It's Donald Trump, but either way, the price is going up. So what you do to Nintendo when the price goes up, you don't write a bunch of Reddit posts and comments on YouTube and then go buy it. You don't do that. You can comment all you want, complain all you want, but you need to not buy it. You can't buy Mario Kart. You can't buy Pokemon Leaf Green and Fire Red at $20 and complain about it. You can't buy a Nintendo Switch 2 at $500 and complain about it. You gotta not buy it. And then they will lower the price. That is the way this works. 10 times out of 10. So I need you to do that. So if you're going to complain, make sure you then put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and it's happened. I remember they lowered the price of the Game Boy Advance. They lowered the price of the 3DS. So when they don't have a hit, they move pretty quick. I think Wii U also had something to try to juice it pretty early on. Memory's a little dusty on that one, but unfortunately, I think we're out of that phase for the Switch 2. It's off to a pretty roaring success, but stand by your principles regardless. That's what we're all about here on Inside Games. Gaming, virtue, and bravery. Yeah, if we keep at this particular brand of bravery, maybe we'll get to report a price drop one of these days. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Luckily, we've never had to raise prices on our show here, despite all these global economic conditions. It's free every day just for you. Well, most days. If you really like paying for things, though, if you really want to, we do have a Patreon. We know gamers love buying stuff. We give away everything on the Patreon for free too, though, so we're pretty bad at taking your money. But if you work really hard at it, you can still support the show. Some people did the impossible. They figured out how to do it. They gave us money, so thank you very much. Brian Cosner, Aristotle Kabat Boris, Ati, James Breyer, and Jose Diaz for keeping us afloat. It's getting tough. It's getting tougher. It's getting tougher out there. We gotta hollow out our Switch 2s and use them as a raft so that we can just float down this river.